Alright, in today's video we're going to be going over the current conditions. We're also going to be going over the upcoming pattern as always and some severe weather as well. Let's just get straight into things though, and we usually start in the west. I want to mention there is a tornado warning. I just noticed this actually as I started talking. There's a tornado warning that I just saw show up there in New York, so we'll zoom in on that in a minute. Although it will probably be over by the time this video comes out, it's probably worth mentioning still. We can see for the four corner states in the Rockies, we still have this monsoon activity continuing for Arizona, New Mexico, and I guess Colorado. I don't know if that's considered monsoon already at that point, at that far north. I don't know. You guys would have to educate me. I live on the East Coast, obviously, so I'm not as experienced with that type of thing, but I can see that this precipitation is all kind of related all the way up through Wyoming there, and then here all the way up through Utah. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll zoom in. Also for the plains, we have some heavier showers with the very eastern front of it featuring some thunderstorms, so we'll zoom into that area as well in a little bit. We still have our tropical thunderstorm activity down here in the Gulf of Mexico as always, and as what will probably continue all the way through August as well, so this will be a daily occurrence for us here. We can see that for the eastern United States, we have a pocket of very heavy showers there in the southern end of that circle that I just drew. We can see flood warnings there. We'll obviously take a look at that down there. We also have that tornado warning all the way northward up there in New York that we'll take a look at. And then in between here, we do have some showers and thunderstorms ongoing, mostly showers, I guess, there for kind of the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. And then kind of for southern New England, I see some showers and definitely some thunderstorms offshore there of New Jersey and Long Island. So it's a lot to go over. We'll take a look at it. We'll zoom in. Let's just take a look first off at this monsoon activity. We can see a lot of this heading through Mexico into Arizona, or better yet, New Mexico. They're in very far southern New Mexico there. We can see around Phoenix and Flagstaff, so the more populated areas of Arizona here. We can see that there is definitely some heavier activity in there as well. We'll zoom in on some of this. It's lighter in New Mexico, but here in Arizona, we can see just to the west and actually over Phoenix, but just to the west and south of Flagstaff, we have some thunderstorm and showery activity ongoing. And some of this is definitely heavier. That's worth mentioning as well, especially there near I-10, I-8. I can see some oranges and reds popping up. Definitely going to lead towards some interesting activity there, to say the least. So be on the lookout for that. I know heavier precipitation can lead towards many different interesting conditions in that region. We can see for California here, we have some showers around here, kind of in the south central regions of California. As we head further northward into Utah, we can see some lighter showers, maybe even a little bit some moderate pockets there, mostly and almost primarily south of I-70. So I think that's also a less populated region of Utah. As we move towards Colorado, we can see for kind of the Denver region, just to the northeast of this region, we have some thunderstorms rolling through Fort Collins and Sterling there in Colorado. We have some activity, and then near Colorado Springs and even over the Rockies there, we have lighter shower activity ongoing at this point for that region. Now, as we take a look at Kansas and Oklahoma here, even near Kansas City and Oklahoma City, we can see that there is a lot of showers going on, and mostly thunderstorms actually south of Kansas City. Those rolled through there, and they're currently in Missouri. So that is what we're seeing kind of north of I-44. Is that I-44 where it's crossing over? I don't know. No, that's I-49. So they're right along I-49 at this point. Probably by the time this video is coming out, they'll be more near Boulevard, Sedalia, those areas. That's where they'll be probably by the time this video is coming out. Now for Arkansas, northern Arkansas, and through a bit of Tennessee, in this pocket, we have some thunderstorms that are building at this point near Jonesboro, north of Little Rock, north of I-40 in general. There we see quite a bit of that activity ongoing at this point. That could be still ongoing a little bit later on. Here for kind of the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, we do have some light to moderate showers rolling through. They have lightened up over the last few hours. As you can see towards the end there, they're much lighter, but they crossed over Chicago. They're going to be approaching Detroit as very, very light showers, but those were a little bit more impactful earlier on. Now for the Gulf of Mexico here, and we're jumping all over the place, we do see there is just a lot of these thunderstorms kind of spreading throughout a lot of different regions here, just like this. And they're definitely going to pose a threat to the Gulf Coast here. This seems to be a daily occurrence where they'll build over water And then, as we reach the midday, they're coming on shore a little bit. So look out for some isolated thunderstorm activity, kind of your daily thing down there in the deeper south. Let's take a look here at kind of our mid-Atlantic and Appalachian regions. We can see that there is a lot of flooding going on in Kentucky and very far western Virginia there. We see a lot of flood warnings coming through with just persistent heavy precipitation. We see those yellows and oranges continuing on for hours and hours and hours, probably causing inches of rainfall to occur overall. So that's why those flood warnings are coming through. Now, this is what I'm really curious about. We have a tornado warning here. These thunderstorms hit kind of Buffalo and Dunkirk a little bit earlier on, and there's a second round hitting. But here, thankfully, it looks like it's kind of just over some mountains there. There is a thunderstorm or a tornado warning at this point near Pike, Nunda, Warsaw there, and it's heading towards I-390. So we're going to see this reach these regions, Naples as well. We're going to see this continue on for these areas a little bit later on. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, it's probably passed through by the time I'm making this, or by the time this video is coming out at least. And it's going to be approaching the Finger Lakes regions, or maybe even by that time over the Finger Lakes over here. So we're going to be watching for that. I know there is some areas, some towns in there, so you're going to want to watch for that very, very closely. And last but not least, well, I guess last but actually least, because this is pretty minor, but we do have some very, very isolated showers going on here for southern New England. Vermont was seeing some of those. New Hampshire never really got them, but we're seeing them continue for Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. But they seem to be lightening up over the last few hours, so they could just completely dissipate through the mid to late morning. All right, I think that covers just about all of it. There was a little bit of, a lot of activity going on there across the nation this morning, actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on, and we're going to just take a look at the upcoming pattern as far as storminess, total precipitation, temperatures, and then we'll go ahead and break down the severe weather outlooks for the next few days. All right, now here we are taking a look at the upcoming pattern. We can see by the time we're reaching this afternoon, there is a low up here in 999 up here in Canada, and this is causing a cold front to stretch just like this is what's leading towards a lot of this precipitation. It's already pretty stationary, so it's already moving very slowly, where it's hardly a cold front. The warm is putting up a really good fight against the cold. And what we're seeing, and you probably noticed this on the radar, is most of it's moving from west to east, which means it's not moving with that front. It's actually just moving along it, which means there's probably a lot of squeezing coming from, first off, both the south here and the north, squeezing like this, which is causing all this precipitation to just move along the front just like this. That's kind of what we're seeing today. We see this monsoon activity continuing. We see these thunderstorms coming on shore, like I mentioned, kind of seems to happen every day. And then we see more activity spreading through these regions. As we approach tomorrow afternoon, Friday, the 29th of July, obviously, we see the low is way up here, and we see this cold front stretching down just like this. It has advanced pretty far, and what we're going to see is a lot of cooler air moving in behind this. So it's going to be a nice relief from that heat for a lot of these upper Midwest regions, Ohio Valley, interior eastern United States as well. All of these areas are going to be feeling a nice cooler air with this cold front that's coming through. We see a lot of these thunderstorms meeting up with this cold front as well out ahead of it, so this could lead towards some severe weather as well. I see that happen sometimes with these types of events. But this cold front could be pretty potent this time of year. Usually summertime ones are. By Saturday, the 30th, it will have passed through a lot of these regions and moved a little bit further south, but it's advancing slower and slower and slower. And at this point, this is when it's basically a stationary front for sure. We won't see it advance much further than this, as the warmth is just so potent and putting up such a good fight at this point. It's been pushed back by this cooler air, but it is basically stalling out. And eventually what's going to happen is this cooler air is going to get cut off, where some warmer air will start to develop up here. And then we're going to see the warm able to kind of blitzkrieg the cold, is what I called it the other day, where it's just going to surround that cooler air, and then the warm from the south here will start to advance on the cooler air, as that will start to actually win. So we're going to see this front actually turn around. We still see a lot of monsoon activity here by Saturday as well. Let's just watch this. You'll see that front turn around here Sunday, just a little bit further north here. It's about here now, where this warm air is definitely pushing northward just like this, still bringing some thunderstorms in there, and that's basically the only thing going on at this point. And then by Monday, we can see it's much further north, mostly impacting these regions up here, where the warmth from west to east definitely putting up a better fight here in the west mostly, but the east, it's still advancing northward as well, is still pushing this warm front northward now. It's good to mention as well that usually warm fronts, oftentimes, this isn't a guarantee, but oftentimes warm fronts like this feature more showers rather than thunderstorms, but only time will be able to tell what ends up truly happening with this on Monday, August 1st. But once it's an advancing warm front like this, warm air heading into cooler conditions, usually you're seeing much less potent thunderstorms and more like heavier showers with maybe a little bit of thunderstorm activity in there, but nothing like a cold front coming through. So round 2, when this is heading back northward, should not be as bad, but that's not a guarantee, obviously. Tuesday the 2nd here, we could see some of this activity lingering here for the eastern United States, but it is going to be coming to an end. And we actually see a ridge kind of building in here heading eastward. So that's going to be our next thing we're watching for. Now by Wednesday the 3rd, we can see this front has completely dissipated, and actually the warm air is now stretching back up the coast. So by midweek next week, we could see warm air really returning. There is some spotty activity throughout the eastern United States, not as much here in between, but we see some here for the northeast and still some, obviously, for the southeast, which is, again, a pretty common occurrence there. What's interesting here is I'm seeing now, we see a low, a very strong low, actually 987 millibar low develop right here, and it looks like it's trying to develop a cold front here in the eastern United States. So this could be our 3rd cold front of this pattern that we've been in. It's stretching through the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes. But that one does not look as potent. It does not stretch as far, and really it just impacts mostly the far, far northern regions here. But this low is definitely wreaking havoc up there and stretching a cold front down like this. Now by Friday, all of that moves out, and we see mostly precipitation in this area. Not really associated with the front. I think there's maybe a low trying to develop in here. We'll see what ends up happening with that. We see more monsoon activity, some activity here for the northwest as well, and still some of these tropical thunderstorms for the more southeastern regions there. And then by Saturday, this is going to be the 6th, we have some thunderstorm activity building in through the mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley regions of the United States. This is the longer range. Take it with a grain of salt, but that is what this model is calling for. And this might be a bit of a cold front. I do see that there is a ridge mostly in the western United States, but it looks like there's definitely a trough here happening in the east. So this could be some cold air pushing in just like this. And that could be what's causing this disturbance in this region in here. We still see this tropical thunderstorms. We still see the monsoon activity and the Rocky Mountain activity as well. And that's kind of what we're left off with. So here's the total precipitation through the next 10 days. And if you're anywhere in the whites, we're expecting practically no precipitation. Your grays will be about 1/10 of an inch or less of precipitation. Your greens will be about 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues will be 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Your reds will be 2 to 5 inches. And then your browns will be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation in there. We see the reds mostly where that low, or better yet, where that front stalls out. We see that's where mostly there's going to be, your 2 to 5 inch amounts in here, and also where that monsoon activity is heading up into these regions. That's mostly the areas where we see 2 to 5. We see some of that scattered about for the northeast where those lows come through, but the more persistent areas are here where I drew these 2 lines of the higher amounts of precipitation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on and we're going to take a look at the upcoming temperature pattern. Now here we are taking a look at day 1. We can see this front is already causing some cooler air to be able to move in. The front is going to be about here by this point. We could see cooler air really heading into these northern regions, even neutral temperatures over here on the eastern end of things. Some warmer air underneath and for the east coast as this warm air is rushing out ahead of this cold front, but that is going to basically lose the battle at a certain point. We see a lot of warmer air out here in the west. This is basically a positive PNA, and this is what's mostly causing the trough to actually head into the eastern United States. Let's just move towards day 2, which will be Friday. We can see this cooler air is advancing further, so we see something like this going on at this point. A lot of warmth underneath and up the east coast here, and then we can see the positive PNA out west right here. Let's continue this towards day 3. Yeah, I think day 3, July 30th. And we'll see a lot of warmer air still out here, but we start to see it head over top of this cooler air, and this is when the cap is kind of getting taken off of this, and it's going to start to get squeezed. But we see a lot of neutral to cooler air for all of these regions in here. That's mostly where we're seeing the cooler and more neutral temperatures at. Now for Sunday, July 31st, we see it squeezed even further. It's mostly featured for these regions, but we see warmer to neutral air here over top. This is what I was talking about when I said blitzkrieg, where there's just warmth and also to the east of it, and mostly to the west of it as well. Just getting squeezed, and all of these warm air masses are just going to keep pushing in on this cooler air until it's just completely gone here. That's Sunday the 31st again, like I said, and here's Monday, August 1st. We can see hardly any cooler air left over. The warmth really starts to choke it out, and even by the 2nd here, we see there is practically no blues left over. We see a little bit here for the Great Lakes and a little bit here for the Appalachians, but outside of that, mostly yellows and mostly reds. This blue you're seeing here over the four corner states is associated with that monsoon activity. Obviously, precipitation and cloudiness leads towards below normal temperatures in most cases, but this is an area that very infrequently sees precipitation or cloudiness. They're mostly sunny. So when they do get that cloudiness and that precipitation, it brings far below normal temperatures because precipitation isn't that normal. So I hope that's a good explanation there. Now for August 3rd, we see that mostly neutral and cooler temperatures are featured here for the western United States, and this is what really allows for this warm air to surge for the central United States mostly, but we can even see for the East Coast, there's some warmer air, just not quite as warm as those areas in the central United States. The August 4th here is going to be the Thursday. We see some cooler temperatures here for the south. That's a little bit interesting. We see just some random cooler temperatures down there, probably associated with some precipitation. We see things are still cooling here for the western United States. Again, that's that negative P, N, not PM, P, N, A. I don't know why I always write it out like this. It always takes so much time. But this is that negative P and A that we're seeing. And this is leading towards warm air to surge out just to the east of that region. We see this oftentimes in the wintertime. And sometimes in the summertime like this, but really the west controls the weather for the entire United States because everything's mostly moving west to east. So whatever happens out west, the east is mostly reacting to what's happening out west. The west is a little bit more proactive with the weather, where what's happening for the west is mostly caused by the Pacific. What's mostly causing the weather in the east is caused by the west. I hope that didn't get too confusing there. Now, as we reach the 5th here, it's going to be I don't even know what day this is at this point. This is going to be Friday, August 5th. We see even warmer temperatures here for the central United States and north central United States. Far, far above normal temperatures there in the reds. Also a little bit of a heat wave developing maybe here for the northeast and mid-Atlantic. But still cooler for the west. So that means this is going to probably continue on for a little bit here. August 6th here, we can see a lot of warmth for a lot of these regions. And again, up and down the western United States, look at that, just far below normal temperatures. That negative P and A is really, really anchored in by that point, and this is the end of the model run. So that's going to be August 6th, Saturday. We close things out with a very strong negative P and A, and it looks like the warmth in the central, especially the central, but also the eastern United States, is going to continue for at least a little while. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on and take a look at that upcoming severe weather. Now, here's the day one categorical outlook, and for the lighter green areas, we have two of them. That's going to be our general thunderstorm risk areas. And that's where we expect general thunderstorms, but anything is possible, so heed every watch, warning, and advisory. We also have two darker green regions there, one there for Colorado, Wyoming, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, even a little bit of Kansas there, maybe like half a county of Kansas. And then we have one that stretches from Oklahoma all the way up through the northeast. That is where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. That's called our marginal risk area. And then for the northeast up there, you see that yellow going on. That's going to be our slight risk area where we expect scattered severe weather to occur. All here today on Thursday, July 28th. And we already have a tornado warning up there in New York, so that tells you that it's pretty potent up there at this point. Now, for day two on Friday, July 29th, we again have that general thunderstorm risk area in the lighter green, but again, heat ever watch, warning, and advisory. But we also have the two darker green regions there once more where, again, isolated severe weather is expected in that marginal risk area for tomorrow on Friday, July 29th. Now for day three here, it's going to be Saturday, July 30th. This will be the first day in a few weeks where we're not seeing even a marginal risk, so we just have a general thunderstorm risk area, very large one, but that's where we expect only general thunderstorms. But again, heed every watch, warning, and advisory because anything truly is possible in there, and we might even get upgraded to a marginal risk at a certain point. So be sure to tune in with us daily as we'll be seeing this for the next couple of days. And hey, maybe they will upgrade it, so it'll be good to know. For today's confidence tab, we're at a 4 out of 6. Mostly there is still no tropical activity, believe it or not. I know it's crazy, but there really is not any tropical activity expected still. But I think we're getting close to where we will start to see some of that. We're approaching August, and it's inevitable at this point. For today's patron, highlight of the day, I want to thank you all for supporting the channel, but especially our Platinum patrons: Bill Crates, James Wade, Dovinagel, Larry Pan, Mandy Birchfield, Patrick Strickland, Dave Scott, and Donna Carnes as well. I'd also like to thank our Diamond patrons: Bill Roberts, Marcus Connolly, Noah Harley, Michael Kodalesa, Catbite, Charles Stinnett, Bill Dallas, Garys, and John Clancy also. I'd also like to thank our channel members: Catbite, Stephen Fan, and Jeremy Cox as well. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more weather-related content. I'll see you guys in the next video.